first saw Final Fantasy: Spirits Within, I wasn't really into the movie at all, but it led me to think about so many related things. At the time, computer generated imagery that had that degree of verisimilitude was just unheard of, and so to think about all of the issues, this stuff seems passé now, and we were already like in the thick of it and dealing with falsified images and how ethics are going to be involved and all the things that you can do with it and what it means about, Uncanny Valley and all these things that are now just part of the normal discourse at the time were really fascinating and fun to think about, even if the movie itself wasn't that great, in my opinion.
I can't believe you used the V word.
Hey, oh yeah, didn't you get reamed for that?
I kind of did.
Yeah, but fuck all that.
Yes.
Like anytime someone getting shit on for like your vocabulary is like getting shit on for having a big dick, it's kind of like, yeah, you got me. What's the deal, right? Unless it goes the other way and you're trying to use it in order to compensate for something. And,
right.
And you're using your vocabulary in the way someone would like a giant like lifted Toyota with like huge stereo system in it or something, or even worse than that when you're using malapropisms left and right. But I mean, look, now and then what better word? I mean, you could have stopped and said, the degree to which it is like life or something. But it's like, no, it's just learn the word. If you don't know it, look it up and add it to your vocabulary and teach it to someone else. It's not. Shit. I think any SAT word is fair game, right? I mean, if it's something that you're theoretically exposed to in high school.
That's what I'm saying. It's all about the regatta.
You could be a 30.
So you got shit on for using that word, Ed Guy?
I did. It did come up in a thread from my favorite forum. But I'm an acquired taste. I'll leave it at that.
I think
the thing is, Ed Guy, you're one of those articulate black men. Have we talked about that phenomenon before? I forget where I read about that, but it's a sort of like backhanded racism of if there's a black man who's to call a black man articulate is
right.
like some sort of compliment, as if the norm is that a black man wouldn't be articulate.
Well, yeah, you ran into that with Obama when he was campaigning and stuff as well, right?
Yeah, it was
he
Biden.
Speaks well.
It was
like,
Biden.
Well, shouldn't every presidential candidate be a fucking accomplished speaker?
It was Joe Biden who said that he was articulate and clean.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. It's like one of those athletic Jews,
I think, though, with vocabulary...
Like Sandy Koufax. Yeah, go ahead.
Like, I'm not going to deny I think there's always a racial element to it, but I think that at the same time, if you can get away with... I find you can get away with it to varying degrees depending on how you handle it. So if in the next sentence I talk about dropping a deuce, I can probably talk about marmoreal in the sentence before that, and let it, and people will let it slide.
Right.
But if like the frequency, I don't know, the kind of the way you handle it, and certain things just set people off, and I don't pretend to understand the entire constellation of reasons that make that so.
Well, no, but that's, I mean, look, the thing is like, I mean, at the risk of getting meta, I think a lot of the reasons why, you guys have worked in your podcast and Robert and Luke as well is because you guys balance out the serious with the comedy. And they work with each other really well. It's a really good sort of contrast and juxtaposition. They just work really well together. And that's a bit less sort of my personality. If I have a sense of humor at all, it tends to be like, fairly dry.
Or if you even have a personality.
If I even have a personality, exactly. So all I'm left with is being articulate and hopefully clean. So for some people, that's going to be an issue. But the thing is, as you guys know, is like when you're doing a live podcast, I mean, I suppose it's possible to pretend to be something you're not. And, Sean, you're definitely good at doing voices and those things. But at the end of the day, these are aspects of, this is you. This is what you do, and it's, you amplify it to a certain extent for the podcast. But I mean, it is you. You don't have to like sort of think like, all right, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? Because you're just being yourself, and that's the way I have to treat this stuff. Is like, I'm going to talk about what interests me.
Right, and Lord knows there's zero preparation for this show at this point too. I mean, no one's
right.
Like there were times on GFW where before we taped, I would say I want to know what I'm going to talk about. I want to have, some talking points, and I'll like it's not going to be a script. I can be flexible on it, but I'm going to make sure, that I have something to say. Whereas lately on this, I mean, we really are just hitting record as the time comes. So you are in your defense, guy. Whatever we're getting is pure end guy.
Uncut. Oh wait,
Matt, our producer, also pointed out before it's too late. I wanted to add that he said you never see words like scrappy or deceptively fast used to describe black athletes. It's just another way that that same thing rings true for athletics.
Gritty, and tough. I saw Kurt Heinrich, who plays for the point guard for the Chicago Bulls, described as gritty and tough, and he's actually one of my favorite players, even though I'm not a Bulls fan. But yeah, I mean, people have talked about sort of the coded language that gets used, and a lot of it is just sort of unexamined that people don't think about when they used to describe people of a different race or gender or those kinds of things. It's like the whole thing like where a woman who's cursing someone out will be described as shrewish, or those kinds of things. And it's just I mean, as writers, I guess perhaps we think about our language a little bit more than the average person, but I take it all in stride, and like I said, I do accept the fact that I'm an acquired taste, and if verisimilitude upsets some people, well, it upsets some people. That's okay. They don't have to like everything I say or do.
That was very articulately said, Ngai.
It was very cleanly. It was cleanly said
well.
too. Yeah.
You're a credit to your race.
That's mighty. That's mighty white of you, Jeff. It's mighty white of you.
Wow. Okay.
You're like 2 steps away. Yeah. From. I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. All in good humor, folks.
Absolutely.
Well, dude, I missed the classic. I mean, we are still reined in. I mean, I missed the classic Jeff where you were talking about what the fuck was it? The opening of Prey. You talked about it. It was like an Auschwitz tram ride. It was like the people.
Yeah,
mover.
That's what I. Yeah. Right, because I was complaining about the fact that the aliens had apparently constructed this entire elaborate multi-room, 2-mile-long conveyor belt that basically just ended up like in a pit where you died, and I compared that to the Auschwitz train. That didn't go over well.
It's not going over well now either. Like,
no, it's not. I know. It was funny when I said it at the time, but no.
I just got another message from Matt who's explaining that this is a Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder flick, and on that note, we need to end.
Oh shit, that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting stir crazy over here.
Yeah.